Hello, everyone. Can you hear us well? Maybe, maybe not. Well, if you can, okay, perfect. Well, look, we've just, of course, opened up. So we're going to wait for a couple more minutes just for a few more people to join. And once we've got a good amount of people in, we'll get started for you guys. So just bear with us and we'll get going shortly. Couple more minutes and we can get started, guys. Hopefully everyone's having a lovely day and the sun is shining where you are. It definitely is here in London. So fingers crossed you got some good weather and get out and enjoy some lunch after this. Leave it one more minute and then we can kick off. Right. Okay. Well, hello everyone, and welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today for Superwoman in Tech webinar. Look, my name is Ross. I'm a principal consultant here at Source Group International, and I'm delighted to be your host as well. So before we dive into things, I'd just like to apologise on behalf of our team for any of the issues caused yesterday with the webinar. We'll do our best to ensure everything runs smoothly in terms of sessions moving forward, and we'll check all of our internal processes just to make sure it doesn't happen again. Um, and as you'll know, look, today's session is hosted by SGI. We are a global partner within recruitment and consulting, and our mission is to deliver world-class tech talent solutions and empower businesses and individuals, of course, to discover their potential. We're not only committed to delivering sort of innovative solutions, but also fostering communities, inclusions, and opportunities for women and underrepresented groups as well across the technology space. Today's event is about Superwoman in Tech Meetup Group. We built this community to connect and amplify and empower women working and aspiring to work within technology. Throughout the year, we post webinars, live meetups, opportunities to spotlight voices across industries and bring tech communities together. Today is the launch of our latest meetup, Beyond the Code, created for engineers, developers, technical problem solvers who want to understand what it really means to build great software today. If there's something you're interested in, we'd love for you to join us and get involved. So keep an eye out for all the future events we've got coming up as well. Before we get started, just some housekeeping rules. Today's session is going to run for about an hour or so. We're recording the webinar and we'll be able to share the link with you after if you want to watch it back or go back over any specific areas. And feel free to use the chat with any other attendees that are also in the webinar today. It's being monitored by our team, so any appropriate or disruptive messages will be removed. And we also have a Q&A button for you to send in any questions you have during the presentation. We've got time at the end to do and cover some of these questions that are sent in, so feel free to ask away. And if you run into any technical issues, just send a message in the chat and our team will get things back up and running for you as quick as they can. So with that, my pleasure to introduce you today, Mahta Bakhshizadeh. Mahta is a data scientist at Sixt and previously spent much of her career in academia. Her transition into the industry gave her first-hand insights into how shifting perspectives can make all difference when navigating a fast-changing competitive job. So please congratulate us and welcome in Mahta to the call. Thank you very much. Cool. Well, Mahta, if you're ready to go, I'll pass it over to you. I'll go on mute now and speak to you soon.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you, Ross, for the great introduction. Just give me a few seconds to share my screen. So do you see my screen? Just give me a thumbs up. Great. Okay. So I'm really excited to be here to talk about transforming job search struggles into a learning journey with you. A big thanks to SGI for having me and giving me this opportunity to talk about this interesting topic with you. First of all, I would like to let you know what is this talk about, so you can set the right expectation. In today's talk, we are going to speak more about the mindset and the approach and about transferable soft skills, not about recruitment tactics or CV polishing or how to get a job faster. And we are not going to discuss role-specific technical skills. And who is this talk for? I would say anyone in tech at any stage of the job search. And it's not just for women. Also, it's a pleasure for me to contributing to a woman-oriented community. But I think everyone can find some interesting insights in the talk, though some women may really resonate more with some parts. So as I said, in this whole journey, either you're a fresh graduate, early career, ready to go into the phase of searching for a job in the tech industry, or you've been searching for a job for quite a while and you don't know how long it's going to take and feel a little overwhelmed, or you're just somewhere in between. I think it will be interesting for anyone at any stage of this process. So let's start with some reality check, and let's see why you are not the problem and the market is. First of all, why am I calling it a job search struggle? Let's go through some feelings that might be familiar to you. So you finish your academia with a master or even a PhD. So you are full of hope and confidence, and it feels like a future that you earned. It feels like a bright future ahead, that you should now find your spot in the job market. So with such confidence, you start applying for jobs. You begin applying and waiting, and days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and months turn into a year or even 2 years. So, and through all these applications, you get few interviews, and even if you get interviews, it seems to be roundless rounds. Like you go for first technical interview, second technical interview, live coding, I don't know, test task, meeting with HR, behavioral questions, so many rounds. You wonder how many rounds should you go through. And then on the other side, you wonder how you should keep up with this crazy pace of AI, with all these tools and technologies coming to market every day. And then rejections land on your email, and the pile of rejections quietly go up and up, and day after day you feel that those that feeling of confidence you had, it's somehow fading into some kind of doubt and uncertainty, and you start questioning yourself, your abilities, your skills, and you start questioning that do you even belong somewhere in this very competitive marketplace. So all this look like a wall, a tall wall. All this, they seem to be the bricks of a wall blocking your way from academia to the industry. So I really want to know how many of you somehow find these feelings familiar. If you relate to at least any of these feelings, please send me a react with a thumbs up. I'm really curious to know that. Yes, nice. you see so many people relating to this, and that's my main message, that this might feel at first like a personal failure, but this is actually a shared experience. We are going through all these feelings, and we just might be in different phases of it. I myself have been through all these feelings, and I totally get how painful it could be. So, but why is it a shared experience? Another reality check. I think the first thing to know is that you need to normalize your expectation based on the current status of market. Why is that? Because many statistics from Forbes, LinkedIn Workforce Report, Indeed Hiring Insights, they all show that the number of applications that you need to get a job offer is something between 50 to even more than 200 applications, and the response rate is going down, and the interview stages is getting long and longer. The whole hiring funnel is expanded from 2 to 3 rounds to more than even 6 rounds. And we have slower process. Time to hire is more than 6 weeks in many cases, and we have higher bar and many more stages, from technical to behavioral checkpoints within the hiring process. So, and many candidates are parallelly applying for so many jobs. So it's important to know that this is the new norm. So you're not you're not alone feeling such a struggle to find a job in the tech market, but this is a shared experience, and this is the new norm. So it's important that we normalize our expectation. Someone is asking if it's recording, and yes, the session is being recorded. So the next point is that you shouldn't perceive rejection as a failure, and that's why so even strong candidates can be rejected, because at the end the company must go with one candidate per position. So it doesn't mean that other candidates had significant lack of qualification. And the other thing is that many of the positions that you see, they are not actively hiring, and they are referred as ghost jobs. And the numbers show that we have 10 to 30%. Some references say the number is even higher of these ghost postings. So some of these jobs are not even hiring. So the important point is that getting a rejection is not a reliable signal of qualification. So how should we perceive those rejections? This is one thing that I will discuss later. Now let's talk about some hidden blockers and what's quietly holding you back. I would like to start with the imposter syndrome. I think that might be a familiar term to you. Um, it's so the thing is that confidence is not a linear function of experience and knowledge. It's not like that you gain more knowledge, you get deeper and deeper in a domain, and you improve your skills, and your confidence goes up. It's not like that. And as you see here, in this plot, it seems that when you start to know about something with some minimal experience, you feel such a high confidence. I think you can think of people who start to use AI tools and they call themselves AI engineers only after a few months of working with such tools. On the other side, when you go deeper into domains and you reach to a point that you know how much things are there that you don't know, and this is what we call it the imposter syndrome. I think this is what many PhD candidates experience, because they start to go so deep into a domain, and then they realize how wide is the whole landscape, and how it's hard to keep up with the state of the art, and they lose confidence. So it's not an easy thing. So confidence, it's not really easily correlated with the depth of your knowledge and experience. But okay, so awareness is a great first step and half of the solution. You know you might face this imposter syndrome, but is it enough to just know about it? No, I think confidence should be built, and I really like to refer to one of my most favorite authors, Mark Manson. He says that the only consistent way of building confidence is by stacked evidence. So, for example, if you if you don't feel enough confidence that can I handle technical interviews, the answer is not that you should try to prepare yourself so hard and then be so prepared and confident to go for the interview. Actually, you shouldn't wait to be ready for interviews. You should do them to become ready. And when you go to so many interviews and you try to handle them, you try to improve yourself gradually, that's how the confidence is built. Also, another wise advice from Mark Manson: confidence is not certainty in success, but it is a comfort with failure. The other thing is the information anxiety, which is I think it is perfectly natural for all of us to feel in today's AI-driven market, because every day we have new technologies. We have what is brand new today might be old in a week or two. So it's really hard to keep up with the pace. But what truly matters here? Uh, it's impossible to be perfectly up to date. So what a wise advice I heard from seniors in this field was that it's sufficient to stay relevant and focus on direction. You don't need to be perfectly up to date with everything going on with the AI. And it's it's not about how much you know. Now it's more about how fast you can learn and how well you adapt. And interestingly, companies, especially leading companies, are now shifting towards evaluating such meta skills in you. Yes, you should know some basics, some foundations in your uh, expertise, but they don't expect you to know everything about all the existing technologies. And instead, they try to evaluate how fast you learn and how adaptable you are. And they are developing their own smart ways of evaluating these things. I can make an example from my own hiring process. It started with a super technical question, and I had no idea what it was about. And they told me what is the concept, and later they asked me another questions. And only after interview, I realized that the whole idea was that how fast I learned that concept and how I can apply it immediately into another scenario. If I had this assumption that they are evaluating my knowledge in that field, I would have lost my whole confidence from the very beginning. So it's very important to know that this is the important skill, and companies might somehow evaluate these skills during the hiring process in their own way. The other thing is the uncertainty. Yes, you might keep asking how the whole job market would look like in 10 years, not even 10 years, 2 years. Is my role replaceable by AI or not? And I think, again, I want to quote another favorite author of mine, Yuval Noah Harari. He says that it is the first time in human history that we are facing such uncertainty. We have absolutely no idea how the world would look like in 10 years. So let's face this uncertainty. And in such fast changing world, according to Nuharari, it's important to be flexible and build adaptability and look beyond narrow tech skills, because if your career is limited to some narrow cognitive skill, it's very easy for AI to replace you. But uh, if you add social, emotional, and physical skills to it, this is the real human value, which is hard to be replaced by AI. And now, how you should find your spot. Where do you actually fit in this wide landscape of AI-driven job market? So first thing, I think it's important that you know how, yes, you should have goals for direction, but what is more important is the system that you develop towards achieving that goal. And this idea comes from the very famous book of Atomic Habits of James Clear. And he says, well, everyone has, all of us, we have the goal to land on a great position on some perfect company, but it's not enough to have such great goals. Yes, we need them for direction, but it's important how you develop your system. So that's why we're talking about the process of job search today, because we are focusing on the system that you should develop towards this goal. And so one important thing is that, okay, how you can stay motivated throughout this process, which can be quite long. And that's where I think the Goldilocks rules comes in. And the idea of Goldilocks is that people experience their peak of motivation when they face the right amount of challenge and difficulty. And that's so if you want to stay motivated throughout the whole process of finding a job, you should try to find your Goldilocks zone. For example, not to go for some, I don't know, if you are a junior trying to apply for senior jobs, or trying to go towards some directions that not perfectly in alignment with your own expertise. It's try to find the right amount of challenges for yourself in this process. And the other thing is the idea of I use this explore exploit trade-off. It is also a very interesting topic in computer science. So when you don't know where you belong, the idea is to start with more exploration. So it means if you're not completely sure about the job title and the career direction, you might better to start with exploring, applying for jobs that you're not completely sure fits you, but at some point gradually start to exploit, gradually try to find a direction after a while. I want to make an example here. For example, in the about the data roles, we have different careers. We have data scientists, machine learning engineers, data analysts, and uh, if you have a computer science background, you can go towards any of these directions. If you have a more stronger engineering background, maybe machine learning engineering would be better. If you have more, if your power is analytics, storytelling, and experimentation, you should go for data analysts and data scientists. But an important point here is that sometimes even job descriptions are not very clear, and sometimes even the companies, they are not completely sure what they are looking for. Sometimes they have just some idea, and I've seen that a lot, that the position, when you read the job description, it's actually data engineering, but they title it as a data scientist. So job description is not an oracle. It's not. So you should. You shouldn't make the assumption that they are completely sure about what they want. Sometimes they have just some unclear general picture of what they need, and then they interview you to see what you can bring to the table. And this is, I've seen that a lot, especially in women, that they don't apply for a job unless they have like 90% of the required qualifications. So I really want to encourage you to be more flexible about that, and don't make those assumptions that those job descriptions are totally fixed, and consider some flexibility there, and try to explore a little, find your uh, find your favorite career that aligns with your background, and try to find direction gradually. Another point is, should I go for more small companies or startups or bigger companies? I think you should really take these points into consideration, that smaller companies, usually there are broad roles, flexible responsibilities, while in bigger corporations, roles are more specialized, and responsibilities are more cleared. Regarding the scope, you can expect depth within a domain in bigger companies, while startups and smaller companies usually have generalist scope, and usually they have less mature infrastructure, while in bigger and older companies, the technical infrastructure is quite well established, and you can expect higher ownership in smaller companies, but while ownership is quite distributed in the big companies. And about how much engineering skills comes into play, I think because for example, let's talk about my own field. Usually the bigger companies with well-established infrastructure, they have this different roles. They have MLOps teams, data science. So if you are coming, for example, like me, if you're coming with a stronger research background, but you might not be very confident with your technical skills, I think it's a better idea for people coming from academia, especially who have been doing PhDs and have been quite far from the industry for years. maybe going for these companies is a better choice in comparison to smaller ones. And especially the size of company, it is in terms of their tech department. So sometimes it's a big old company with thousands of employees, but they are, for example, integrating AI to their workflows for the first time. This will need stronger engineering capabilities. And finally, regarding the mindset shift, I think so the whole idea is that this process is a great training ground. And why is that? For example, let's talk about the hidden value of tech interviews. I think tech interviews, especially if the job position is really in alignment with your interests and expertise, they are perfect opportunities to improve your skills. Because, for example, sometimes you're asked some questions in these interviews that that you realize maybe you're not that deep that you thought. And some topics, for example, A/B testing. A/B testing, you know that, I don't know, you have a baseline, you have a new machine learning model, and you want to see if it beats this one or not. If this one outperforms, you just run an A/B test. It's really easy, right? And in one of my interviews, I was asked that, well, how do you decide for how long to run an A/B test? And this was a really good question, and that today I have a much better answer to it in comparison to before. And every time I think about it, I have a new answer to it. So please use these golden questions, and I really encourage you to talk with AI, have a long, deep discussion with AI after your interview, even if you think that you have answered the questions quite well. Sometimes the questions are not that straightforward, but if you try to get deeper, especially if you have tried to answer them yourself first, and then you discuss it with AI, you get much deeper understanding of those topics. The other thing is that, so I talked about imposter syndrome, but this is two different sides of the same learning curve. Sometimes you fall on the other side, on the Dunning-Kruger effect. It means that you think that you have a lot of experience and knowledge, but this is quite far from the reality. So during this hiring process, during these interviews, it's a great opportunity for you to refine your self-evaluation and enrich it with evidence iteratively. With this, try to see how well you perform and how well you're answering these questions, how well you're handling the test tasks and live codings, and try to be honest with yourself. It's really important, the honesty, not only with the interviewer, but also with yourself. Try to realize, is it the ability gap for you, or is it the perception gap? And try to refine this evaluation iteratively. And finally, the very important thing that people sometimes don't know is the hidden shared requirement in tech, no matter what role, even if you talk about pure tech roles like software engineering, it's very important to have good communication skills. And companies, they prefer strong communicators over isolated experts. And especially for people coming from academia, in academia, we have really limited audience diversity. It's usually you're talking with your professors, your peers. I don't know, especially if you're doing a PhD, it's quite isolated. If you're lucky, maybe you go to a conference once or twice a year, and again, there you're talking to your peers. You don't have the chance to experience such diversity in your audience, while in industry, you need cross-functional communication. And actually, you can use this hiring process, this tech job hunt process, to improve these skills. Because I said there are too many rounds, but during these rounds, you have the chance to talk to tech people, business stakeholders, sometimes HR, and this is a great opportunity to practice this communication skills. And this was something I heard from our senior recruiter, that people sometimes they cannot even speak in a structured way, and it's really hard to follow their thoughts. So this is a very important skill that you can improve it during all these interviews with such high diversity of audience. And it's, as I said, not every rejection is a failure. So instead of seeing it as a binary outcome, as a success or fail, try to measure growth. By each interview, ask yourself, did I present myself better? By every technical task, try to sharpen and reevaluate your skills. Try to understand, is it the perception gap or is it the ability gap? And with every conversation, try to adopt your communication, your terminology, your language, the structure you're using. And with every process, you can understand the market and where do you fit in the whole landscape. So not every rejection is a failure if you look at it that way. So my advice is for you to shift towards personalized metrics and ask yourself questions like, did I present myself more clearly and confidently? Did I speak in a more structured way? Was I more self-reflective? Did I stay focused, calm, and confident during the whole process? And how I was able to improve my communication skills across different audiences. And now, let's see these bricks of wall once again with this new perspective. There are too many, you need to make too many applications, yes, but let's face it, this is the new norm. This is a shared experience. And the hiring rounds seems endless. Well, this is a great opportunity for you to practice communications because you have a different audience during these rounds, and you can improve your communication skills by each interview. And there are, yes, information anxiety and career anxiety. We talked about it. You have the right to feel anxious about that, but we should face the uncertainty. And the most important skill to improve here is flexibility, and you should build adaptability. Self-doubt is another problem. We talked about imposter syndrome, but we also realized that we should build confidence by stacked evidence. It means going through interviews again and again and try to build that confidence with real evidence. Technical interviews, yes, you might feel overwhelmed by them, but it is a great chance for you to improve your tech knowledge and skills every time. And those pile of rejections, if you see them with this perspective, they are a great chance for you to iteratively refine and evaluate yourself. So my whole point of this presentation is that those bricks of wall that seem to once block your path, they might be actually paving stones of a meaningful journey that are preparing you not for doing the next interview better, but they're actually preparing you for the career ahead. Thanks a lot. And with that, I would like to conclude my presentation. Feel free to connect with me and follow me on social media. And if you have any questions, I would be glad to answer.
Wow, thank you, Marta. I think you absolutely smashed that, and I think you hit the nail on the head of a lot of information that people are wanting to hear and actually probably, dealing with at the moment. So really, really well done. We can go in to a Q&A just before doing that. Look, I just think I'll add a little bit just from the recruiter perspective, and we can dive in. Everything you've said is exactly what, someone who really wants to listen and has a great interest in helping individuals to progress will do. Sometimes it can feel so disheartening sitting behind hundreds of applications, and the market has changed so much. The industry previously, even job roles were very cut and dry, whereas now sometimes they're asking for 5, 6, 7 years plus experience, with a degree for someone who's maybe not even got the experience. And, how do you get that experience? And of course, with the applications with AI, they've blown through the roof. And now the best thing to do is actually take a step back and try and be as selective with your application processes as possible, and really be honest. And what you were saying about the evidence back, if you've not got it, be honest. And it goes into that meta skills. It's saying what I have done here in my degree or some projects that I've worked on is I've shown that I can work independently. I owned a process that I was dealing with from start to finish. And if someone's willing to take that time to listen, of course, then, hopefully they can be able to see that that can apply into their industry and their workspace as well. So look, we've got a couple of questions here that we can dive into. A few of them are focused around sort of what can you expect, what techniques and tools can you use. You've covered a little bit of this. I'm happy to show from maybe a recruiter perspective if you want, in terms of how to go about these. So in terms of the techniques, it's so easy to get on a job board, maybe search the job title that have studied for or that you want to go into, and there's maybe 500 of these live postings, in your region or in your area, and you click apply to all of them, and maybe hoping that one of them will stick. And what happens there is that you say to yourself, do you know what? I've applied to a million jobs and no one's got back to me and I can't see anything. And one of the most important things is actually to be really specific. So, you know, go, because it's so competitive, be realistic with the jobs that you're going for. If it says 3 to 5 years experience and you've just graduated, it's highly unlikely that you're gonna be successful in getting that job. And also then the situation is that because there's such a high volume, hiring managers in companies, talent groups, they're probably thinking that they've got hundreds to get through. So they think if they haven't seen the three to five, so maybe it might be take a step back, maybe go in for an internship or graduate program to then get into those levels and get into some of those big companies where, of course, then you can learn all the terminology, everything. And also, when you do get on the interview, almost, when you go to pick your lunch, you sort of see what you want first. You sort of pick with your eyes. So make sure that you're presenting yourself well, that, it can be as simple as your Wi-Fi. Hopefully my Wi-Fi is working right now, but, it can be as simple as making sure that, your connection's good, that you've got a clear photo, there's no distractions. I mean, I've interviewed people that have had the TV on in the background with a football shirt, and it's like, how are you serious? Are you not serious? And just make sure that, yeah, you're thinking about all of the little things around the application that can really help. And in terms of sort of the AI tools, help if you're struggling to maybe write your CV, there are AI tools online to write a CV. Now, be honest about your experience. Don't say that you've done everything that there is to do, because hopefully someone who spends the time to speak with you will be able to identify where you've done this and where you haven't. But there are tools to say, hey, look, I'm applying for a job within retail, or I'm applying for a job within, maybe electric, manufacturing. Use AI to help you tailor your CV so it reads how these industries like to see their CVs, and so that there's tools like that you can use. And so, but look, the main thing is be selective. It's not personal, it's not disheartening, it's not your fault that the market is in the shape that it is. And we can move forward. So is there anything you wanted to add there, Marta, before I go on to any other questions?
Uh, thanks a lot for the insights. I cannot agree more. Yes, exactly. I would say use AI to be more reflective on your CV and in the interviews. I've heard you said about the people with TV on in the background. I've heard even more uh,
Yeah,
really strange stories
awkward
from a
awkward
recruiter.
interviews. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've heard that people are now developing ways to have AI during the interviews with the online interviews, and they manage to do it so well that you cannot even realize they are like switching screens
Yeah,
or. And first of all, the people who have been hiring for years, they can realize it fast, and that's a big red flag. And if AI is answering those questions, what can you bring to the table as a human? Why not to have AI instead? Yes, exactly. Being selective and honest is really important. We can go
perfect
through the
stuff.
questions.
I agree. I agree. There is one here regarding how do you practice communicating with people who don't work in tech if you don't have access to a diverse stakeholder? This is such a good question. One of the main aspects a lot of the time when hiring managers are looking for technical individuals specifically is can they communicate this to someone who has absolutely no idea how qualified or what it is that you do. And one of the best ways to look at it is storytelling. It's a way that it's a term that comes up in technology all the time. Can you explain something in maybe layman's terms or something to someone who knows? And the best way is to put it into a story, maybe build an analogy. If you're talking about tech teams, sometimes you talk about a house. You've got people at the bottom, you've got your engineers, making sure the foundations are solid. You've got your maybe your developers or your Power BI people at the top who are showing you what the actual whole picture looks like and putting a roof over their head. There's ways that you can explain this, especially, and we use it ourselves, recruiters, when we're talking to clients about how they should pitch out their teams. What they tell us a problem and what they're trying to solve, and then you can say, hey, look, well, this is what this individual does if they don't explain. So you're always if someone doesn't understand what the technical skill set you have is, you're gonna have to find another way to sort of explain it around, and you can make it fun and intriguing for the individual on the other side, and that's going to make you rememberable as well. If you put sort of an analogy on it, they're going to go, oh, do you know what? I think I actually really understand technology now because of what you've said, and that's going to be really good for them. But yeah, keep at that as well. It's always a good sort of technique to use. Um, We've got how do you see the market for junior entry level data positions in AI? That's a great question. That's a really good question because it's so fresh and new. It's like how does a junior role fit into this space? How do I get myself into this space without having 3 to 5 plus years experience? And to be honest, that's such a good question. I probably need to have a think about that myself on how to get into that space really. The best thing would probably be to, I'd say, identify organizations that are fast moving within the AI space. This way, what they're going to want to do is they would want to start building out teams from the start. Organizations love having individuals in that grow with them. So if you're looking as a junior to get into this space and they're looking as an organization to explore across AI, then try and target these organizations and get an application in. And off the back of that, just to differentiate yourself, if you've had a good conversation with an internal talent team or a recruiter, pop them an email after, say, hey, look, thanks for the time. Even if you've got a Teams into invite maybe with an organization and the person interviewing's email is there, pop them in here or email after directly to them and just say, hey, look, thank you for your time. I really appreciate everything that I learned on the call today, and leave it at that. And already that step will put you above 99% of other people that will finish the call and just sort of hope for the best, if that makes sense. So hopefully that answered the question, even though I've never thought about that one before. Um, A/B testing, how would you, Marty, do you want to jump in on that? Covering around, curious to answer. Did you give the question on how long A/B testing should last? Have you got something
Yes.
for?
So is the question to I don't see so the question is to give more details about that.
I think maybe yes.
Yeah. Okay. So for example, I said that sometimes they don't ask a straightforward question. For example, they don't ask what is p-value hacking, and after the interview, I realized that my answer was kind of hacking the p-value. And later on, I realized, okay, if you use, for example, frequentist methods or via Bayesian inference methods, it's totally different. And actually, I got a better answer to this when I started working in my new position. And that's that's how a question stays with you. And I think, as I said, if you are not sure how deep was the question, or you're not sure that you got the main idea behind the question, asking AI is a great way to do that. I also had another scenario that they asked me about a data science scenario, and they wanted me to realize that this could be a case of data leakage. They don't ask you what is data leakage. Everybody knows what is data leakage as a data scientist, but they question it in a way to challenge you. Yeah.
Marta, are there any other questions that have sort of come out to you? Anything else that you'd like to follow up on?
Let me check. How can someone demonstrate or showcase these meta skills? Well, when I said when they evaluate skills like how fast you learn, they have thought about it beforehand. So they have structured the interview in a way that you can have the chance to show them how fast you learn. As I said, you as a candidate, it's important not to make any pre-assumptions that, for example, they are evaluating my technical knowledge in that domain. No, sometimes it's not the case. Just try to stay in the moment and try to completely understand the scenario they are giving to you, and then you will have the chance to show them that you can use the concept that you just learned from them. I hope that's a good answer to your question. Let me go through others. Or Ross, if you have another question,
Yeah.
too.
So there's an important point is that almost all candidates use AI, which means all of your competitors, sometimes more than 100 specifically when applications are using AI to try and make their CV as best as possible. Is this good news or bad news? Now, using AI, and Marty, by all means, jump in if you want to add on to this as well. Using AI, especially with your applications or your CVs, if you're looking at CVs all the time, such as recruiters are, you can very quickly identify the ones that have been used with AI and the ones that have been enhanced with AI. So sometimes you can see ones that have been completely written, for example, using ChatGPT or Claude for someone, whereas there's other times where there's definitely someone has given a draft position and used it to enhance. You know, make sure that when you're using ChatGPT or another AI platform, that it doesn't necessarily read off as an AI, because it will almost you want to have the skeleton necessarily of your CV, what you've done, your experiences, your projects, and then use AI to apply it to a certain area, a certain company, a certain job to help you identify the areas in your experience that match really well to the project. That's going to keep you above and beyond the other 100 people that are using AI to maybe just say, I'm a data engineer, give me a data engineer CV with these qualifications. And that's, you know yourself better than AI is going to know you. So you need to spend the time, think about yourself and your experience, write it down, and then use AI to help you apply it really specifically to different areas, and then go about your application. And that's what will be different to your competition using AI to just sort of maybe do everything for them. Um, Hopefully that answered the question there. What else do we have here? That could be a good question. We have, I suppose I really have a different background now, trying to switch to software development. I finished a coding boot camp now. I'm working on my own projects every day, job searching is tough. Don't know if it's the market and or my background, how to cope with that. Well, it sounds like you've got a lot on your plate at the moment, juggling your own individual projects, maybe going into some freelancing work by the sounds of it, if not going directly. Um, I'd say just try and manage your time as best possible. Marta, what have you done when you've had multiple projects or things needing delivered? You know, you're thinking about things outside of work. How do you go about and balance things like that?
Yeah, I think it's, as I said, I think it's good to give a little flexibility and let yourself explore a little, but at some point you really need to prioritize. You need to find your direction and focus on it. I'm also a multi-potential person. And I, I, at some point I tried to be clear what's my main priority. So, and then when you find it, try to keep other things in a way that they give you they charge your battery towards your main direction. Uh, so if you decide to, for example, I don't know, switch for a career in data science, uh, don't don't overload yourself with learning all about MLOps. If this is your career, try to focus on that direction and use other things just to charge your battery, even if it's a hobby or because it's not really possible to manage so many directions altogether, especially now that even keeping up to date in one direction is quite challenging. So to prioritize and then use some of the fun hobbies as charging methodology. Yeah.
I think that's a great answer, actually, Marta. We've got time for one last question. There's one here. Potentially, you could speak about your own experiences, Marta, and I can always add on a little bit in terms of some advice there as well. So, what are some of the things you did looking for your newest role, and how did you manage your own expectations during your job search?
Mm, that's a very good question. So I I didn't have a very clear expectation at the beginning, and that's uh, when I got through so many interviews and hiring processes. I gradually build an image of what can I expect from a company, and I think it's really fine not to know what to expect. But I also heard from our senior recruiter that sometimes people uh, just jump into the job market with so high expectation and without bringing anything on the table themselves. So this is also something that you should really be you should care about, that uh, try to answer these two questions together. What do you expect from your company, from the job you're hiring, and what they can expect from you? What do you bring to the table, especially as a human? What do you bring to the table? What value will you add to the team? If you try to answer that question first for yourself, you will be you will be much self-reflective during your interviews. Um, and then, yeah, as I said, when you go through so many different job processes, you get a more accurate expectation of what you can expect from each company.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. No, great answer. And I would say to add on to that, along with being, specific and tailored to the jobs you're going for, so you don't feel overwhelmed without too many processes at once as well. Same way you use, AI applications, different platforms, recruitment platforms. There are loads of really good recruiters out there that will take the time to listen to you, provide you advice as well. Take that in. You've almost got one image, one slice of the pie, and there's other people that are sharing the pie. And if you can talk to as many people that are either hiring or looking at candidates similar to yourself, or other people that are also in your field, connect with them on LinkedIn, ask them, how are you finding the job market? What's going on in your world? How did you, I can see you're in a great role. Do you mind me asking how you went about it? And try and learn. And you're already, guys, anyone who's in this meeting is already taking that step to try and find out exactly how to tackle the market and best way. And there's no one fits all, there's no perfect way. There's a lot of trying, but just as long as you're consistent and honest with your experience, the role will find you. So almost certainly,
Exactly.
yeah, perfect. All right, well
Uh,
look, I think we're sort of getting quite close now to our cut. We want to make sure everyone can get back to whatever it is they need to do today. Maybe some applications, I'm not too sure. But uh very big thank you to you, Marta. Thank you so much for sharing not only your personal experience and perspectives, but everything that you detailed today and a lot of the learning. I think I also learned a lot of stuff and got reminded of a few pointers as well there. So thank you so much for that. Um, we now have our May session live as well. So we've got our meetup there. We'll be diving into how you can manage a career break and then rejoin the workforce after with confidence and clarity. So keep out an eye out for an email for that from our marketing team. It will also contain, we've got today's recording that will come out to you along with a feedback form. So please do let us know if there was anything that we did really well, anything that you'd like us to cover in more detail, or maybe a new session that you'd like to go and dive into as well. But in there, have a great afternoon, and we'll see you all next time. All right. Thank you.
Thank you a lot.
All right. Cheers, guys. Bye bye.